Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 24 hours, you know there have been several major changes across the continent that have shocked the footballing world. So to help us go through all the latest, we have none other than the best European football expert out there. Kevin Hatchard joins us now. Kev, good evening, sir.
How are we, chaps? You well?
There he is.
Oh, good, Kev.
Kev, look, I watched the Super Cup last night. It was a brilliant game. Some serious footballers on that pitch. Vinicius, his goal was outrageous. Lamine Yamal one side, Lewandowski finished. What a brilliant game. But it's not without his losses. It's a bit of casualty. Xabi Alonso has lost his post after losing that final.
Yeah, he has. And he's been game to game for quite a while now. It emerged a few weeks before Christmas that they were seriously considering his position. He managed to put together a run of wins that had certainly saved him for now. But you felt like this Spanish Super Cup was always going to be make or break for him. And the fact that they've lost to Barcelona, even though Barcelona are such an excellent team at the moment, that was always going to cost him. And they've made the decision. And I think what this is the culmination of a risk that hasn't paid off, because you knew what you were getting when you brought in Xabi Alonso. You knew you were getting a coach that wanted to have a top-down mentality, in the sense that he wanted everybody to be on the same page. He wanted everybody to work equally hard. That's how he got Leverkusen to have the success they had. And Real Madrid just aren't built like that, and haven't been built like that for quite some time. And it's not the way Ancelotti coached them. I think Ancelotti would have preferred something similar to what Xabi Alonso was trying to do, but I think he recognised that wasn't going to be possible.
Sorry, Gemma. Just on that, what were the fundamental mistakes that you think he made? What were the players that perhaps weren't on board with that? Was it a collective? Was it one or two? Or and how did the players actually receive him as a manager? Because I think largely he's going to be respected. He doesn't have to worry about that walking through the door.
But I think there was a split. I think he started okay in the Club World Cup, but obviously they weren't able to win that competition. And that was a competition that Real Madrid really did want to win, because it was the first expanded Club World Cup, and they feel they are the best and biggest club in the world, so they feel they should be winning that. But obviously he'd only just arrived. And then they actually started well in terms of results. They looked really good in some games. They looked vulnerable in others. But you look at the numbers in terms of the pressing, in terms of winning the ball high up the pitch. The first few months it was going well. And then bad habits started to kick in again. And I think that's where players started to become a little bit annoyed by what he was requiring of them. And they didn't want to stick to the plan. And so I think he made some compromises that ended up nobody was particularly happy. And you have to look at the Clásico they won against Barcelona, where he took off Vinicius Jr. and Vinicius Jr. had a complete tantrum about it, then had to apologise, but left Xabi Alonso out of his apology. And I think from then on you could see that this was going to come down to a choice between the players and the coach.
Yeah, sticking with Vinicius Jr., we know he's reluctant to sign a new contract, probably due to the rift with Xabi Alonso. Now, the departure of Alonso, what does this mean now for Vinicius' future?
I think it's much more likely that he signs a new contract now, because the relationship had been strained with Xabi Alonso. There were highs and lows. It wasn't, open warfare or anything like that. It wasn't a scrap all the way through. But there's no doubt that they had a difference of opinion on certain things. And what Vinicius Jr. saw was he saw Mbappe become very much the king of that team, certainly in the attacking part of the team. We've seen Rodrigo start to play more regularly and play better in the last few weeks as well. And all the while, those contract talks weren't happening. So he's only got a year and a half left. He's one of the most valuable players in the world. Saudi Arabia are desperate to bring him in to their league. I don't think that's likely to happen, but it could happen with the kind of numbers they're talking about. So, yeah, Real Madrid, I think, will hope that a byproduct of this decision is that Vinicius Jr. is a lot more likely to sign a new contract.
Arbeloa is the one that's been given the task of taking over. What is the situation with him? Is it interim? Is it permanent? It seems a little unclear as to what his position is at the club.
Yeah, I mean, as secure as any coach is really at Real Madrid. But yeah, the idea is that he's a stopgap, I think.
Right.
And then you see where it goes from there. Like Manchester United, really, I think they've realised the pool of talent is going to be much bigger in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have guys like Julian Nagelsmann, I would think, on the market, for example. And he's been a target of Real Madrid before. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be him, but that's the kind of guy that's suddenly going to be on the market in the summer, I would think. So, yeah, I think they will see how, obviously, if Arbeloa comes in and it continues to decline, they'll have to come up with a different solution. But I think ideally, they probably want him to take it to the end of the season,
Right.
and then they can reassess their options.
Take attention to Tottenham, who are close to agreeing a deal with Atletico Madrid to sign Conor Gallagher. Aston Villa were also rumoured in this player, but Spurs have now got their man. How good of a signing could this be for Tottenham?
Yeah, I think it could be really good because we know about the energy he brings. We know about the experience that he has. And he's not leaving Atletico because he's a bad player. Simeone has spoken in glowing terms about him on several occasions, and he played 50 times in all competitions last season. But he's been behind Pablo Barrios and Koke and others in that midfield area. He's only started, I think, 9 games altogether in all competitions out of 27. So that tells its own story. And again, it's not because he's playing badly. It's just that Simeone has preferred to start other players. And this is an opportunity, I think, for Atletico to claw back some money because they have spent a lot in the last couple of years. So it's probably a deal that works for everyone. But I don't think we should characterise this as kind of Atletico kicking him out. I just think it's an opportunity for everyone.
Now, Bournemouth are trying to replace Semenyo. They've had a bid, £35 million for Stuttgart winner Jamie Llewellyn as a replacement. It's got rejected. What is the latest on that one?
So the latest is that Stuttgart say he's not for sale in this window, and that Llewellyn himself has said he's not interested in a transfer. He scored twice at the weekend, did a 4-1 win at Bayer Leverkusen, played very well. I have reservations about Llewellyn at this stage, in the sense that he has games like he had at the weekend where he's brilliant against Leverkusen, then he'll have a few games where he's not so good. And I think that consistency is lacking. And I would have reservations about him coming in as somebody who's the Semenyo replacement. I think that's too much pressure. So if Bournemouth have to look elsewhere, I don't think that's necessarily an awful thing.
Yeah. Brentford have signed 4K Furo from Club Brugge on a 5-year deal. What sort of player are Brentford going to be getting with this one?
Yeah, quite an interesting guy. He's tall, but he can shift. He's a centre forward. He can pull into wide areas. He's good in the air, as you'd expect. He does feel like the kind of profile that Brentford like. They're quite a direct team, aren't they? And you could see, with a bit of time and with a bit of adaptation, you could see him slotting into their system and their style. But there is an element of unknown here because he's only played 8 games for Club Brugge. Right. So it's difficult to tell. He's got a good record at youth level with Belgium, but it is a real leap into the unknown. So I get why they've done it. I think there's a lot to like with him, but it's very, very early days.
Right, okay. Harry Kane, since he's left Spurs, Kev, it always seems to me there's rumours knocking about him returning to the Premier League. I don't know why those rumours persist, or because he seems to be as happy as anything you can imagine, Harry, since he's been over there, winning trophies, scoring goals for fun. Why are these rumours always knocking about? Is it just people trying to, I don't know, put 2 and 2 together, the fact that he might come back and break that Premier League goal-scoring record someday?
I genuinely think people in England can't accept that the captain of England wouldn't want to run back to the Premier League at the first opportunity. I genuinely think people find it difficult to compute that a player that had a record of 2 goals in every 3 Premier League games wanted to go to the Bundesliga. And he has been a phenomenal success. There's no doubt about it. He's won the league. He's averaged, a goal a game pretty much. He's an extraordinary record. And he's very happy. Everything you hear in interviews he gives, everything you hear from his camp, suggests that he wants to stay. The family is settled. He's settled. He was at a fan club recently, a Bayern fan club for a visit. And he talked about the fact he was really happy to get a winter break, the fact that his family's happy, the fact he's still learning German, the fact that he genuinely feels, and this is the most important thing, that he can win the big prizes at Bayern. And they are playing some unbelievable football right now, and they genuinely believe they can win the Champions League.
Kev, we saw Ekitike and Florian Wirtz come off the bench tonight. Both score, both assist one another. It looks like they're getting a good partnership, but are we starting to see now the Florian Wirtz that we saw in Leverkusen?
Bubbling.
Yeah,
bubbling.
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 I think so. I think all along we've seen glimpses of it. You know, all the weight of pass, all the little ideas, all the 1-2s, all the movement, that's all been there. I think he's starting to adapt to the physicality of it, to the pace of it. But the natural talent is undeniable, I think. He's starting to deliver in terms of the goals and assists, but you look at the numbers and you look at the game. You don't need to look at the numbers. Just look at the eye test. Look at the games. You know, the number of chances he's made that people haven't taken. And you know how it works. If he's got 5-6 more assists, people are talking about him in a different light. He can't do anything about the price tag. That's not his fault. And I do genuinely believe, and I said this when he was signed, and I still believe it, that he's going to be a signing for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years for Liverpool, who could define, you know, where they go in the next few years. I think he's that good.
Kev, I've got to get your thoughts, please. I've only seen the result. PSG got beat in the French Cup by Paris FC, their nearest and dearest rivals. They got beat 1-0 in the final. I mean, this is a massive shock, surely.
Yeah, it is. And they beat Paris FC in the league recently as well. So that makes it even more of a surprise, although that was closer than a lot of people thought. And they're having a funny time, PSG, at the moment, I think, in the sense that I think they've saved some of their best football for the Champions League. They haven't been top of Liga. Lens have. They've been leading the way, although I still think PSG are going to win the league. But they're developing a bit of a siege mentality as well. Luis Enrique has been talking a lot about people trying to destabilise the club. There were the rumours recently that he's completely wiped away, that he's not going to sign a new contract after his deal runs out in 2027. He says that's fake news. It's just not true. But yeah, they've had a lot of injuries as well, players in and out, players not quite hitting top form. So yeah, a major shock and you know, quite an embarrassment given who they've lost the game to. It's not a fierce rivalry. You know, obviously Paris FC haven't been at PSG's level, so it hasn't had kind of time to become a fierce rivalry, but it's a hell of a result for them.
Kev, you're a superstar. Appreciate your time, bud. Catch up soon.
Cheers, chaps.